Jannik Sinner's story is one that feels almost cinematic, not because it was written with a brush of instant genius or early fame, but because it was shaped through quiet persistence, discipline, and a love for sport that was never forced, but discovered. His life did not begin on tennis courts under the gaze of scouts and coaches predicting superstardom. Instead, it began on the snowy slopes of northern Italy, in a small town where skiing was far more natural to a child than swinging a racket. Born in the town of San Candido, raised in Sesto in South Tyrol, Jannik Sinner's story is one that feels almost cinematic, not because it was written with a brush of instant genius or early fame, but because it was shaped through quiet persistence, discipline, and a love for sport that was never forced, but discovered. His life did not begin on tennis courts under the gaze of scouts and coaches predicting superstardom. Instead, it began on the snowy slopes of northern Italy, in a small town where skiing was far more natural to a child than swinging a racket. Born in the town of San Candido, raised in Sesto in South Tyrol, Sinner was not the product of a grand sporting system or an academy with global reach. He was the son of hard-working parents, his father a cook and his mother a waitress, who taught him humility, dedication, and responsibility before the world ever knew his name. Those values, instilled quietly in his upbringing, would later serve as the invisible foundation for his rise in tennis, a sport that demands as much character as it does talent. Before tennis, Jannik was a skier, and not just a casual one. He was one of Italy's most promising young skiing prospects, competing at national levels. The balance, agility, and fearlessness required to glide down icy mountains at high speeds were things he mastered at a very young age. In skiing, there is little margin for error, and perhaps that sharpened his ability to perform under pressure, to make split-second decisions, and to thrive when others might hesitate. Yet, as his teenage years approached, Sinner found himself questioning whether skiing was the sport where he truly belonged. Despite his talent, he wasn't certain it was his calling. Tennis, which he had played casually as a child, began to draw him in with its precision, one-on-one battles, and mental challenge. Choosing tennis over skiing was not the obvious or easy choice, but it was the one that ignited something within him. It marked the beginning of a reinvention, a new identity, and, ultimately, a destiny. When he committed to tennis, Sinner was not immediately labeled a prodigy. In fact, compared to others his age, he was considered a late bloomer. While many of his peers had spent their entire childhoods training in tennis academies, he was starting fresh, with ground to make up. Yet, that supposed disadvantage became his greatest advantage. Free from the pressures of being branded the next big thing too early, he developed at his own pace, focusing on learning, improving, and refining his skills. His transition was guided by coach Riccardo Piatti, one of Italy's most respected tennis mentors. Piatti recognized something in Sinner that went beyond strokes or athleticism. It was a quiet intensity, an ability to absorb knowledge quickly, and a fearlessness that mirrored the boy who once raced down ski slopes. Under Piatti's guidance, Sinner's game began to grow, his tall frame lending itself to powerful serves, his timing on ground strokes becoming a weapon, and his composure distinguishing him from others. Sinner's rise in professional tennis was meteoric once he found his footing. He announced himself to the world in 2019, when as a teenager he won the Next Gen ATP Finals, a tournament designed to showcase the sport's brightest young stars. What was remarkable was not just his victory, but the manner in which he played, with maturity far beyond his years, blending controlled aggression with calm execution. He wasn't flamboyant, he wasn't trying to dazzle with theatrics. Instead, he impressed with substance, precision, and consistency. Those traits, often overlooked in a world chasing highlights, became his calling card. They also reflected who he was off the court, humble, focused, and grounded. As the tennis world took notice, many began to whisper that Sinner was not just another talented youngster, but a player destined to be part of the sport's next great chapter. What separates Sinner from so many rising stars is his mindset. Tennis is not only about hitting winners, it is a sport of endurance, both physical and mental. Matches can stretch for hours, momentum can swing in an instant, and pressure can suffocate even the most talented athletes. From early in his career, Sinner showed an ability to handle these moments with rare composure. He never panicked when trailing. He never lost himself in frustration. Instead, he built a reputation for staying locked in, trusting his process, and believing that resilience would ultimately tip the scales in his favor. That calm under fire made him dangerous, especially against more experienced opponents who underestimated him. It was this mental toughness, not just his forehand or serve, that marked him as a future champion. As he climbed the rankings, Sinner also carried the hopes of Italy on his shoulders. Tennis in Italy has a proud history, but it had not always produced consistent contenders on the global stage. With Sinner's emergence, along with contemporaries like Matteo Berrettini, Italian tennis experienced a renaissance. Fans began to rally behind him not only because of his talent, but because of his authenticity. He never sought the spotlight, he earned it. He never boasted of his success, he let his racket speak. That humility, combined with an unrelenting work ethic, resonated deeply with people who saw in him a reflection of values they admired. He became not just an athlete to cheer for, but a role model for younger generations. One of the defining traits of Sinner's journey has been his ability to learn from setbacks without being defined by them. Losses are inevitable in tennis, especially when coming up against legends like Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, and Roger Federer, who dominated the sport for decades. For Sinner, those defeats were never failures, they were classrooms. Every time he stepped on court against the best, he studied, he absorbed, and he returned stronger. This attitude of embracing challenges rather than fearing them accelerated his growth. It also drew respect from his rivals, who recognized that behind his youthful face was a competitor of substance, one who would be around for a long time. The culmination of his persistence came when he began achieving major milestones on the biggest stages. Winning prestigious tournaments, reaching the latter rounds of Grand Slams, and eventually capturing a slam title of his own were not sudden breakthroughs, but the result of years of methodical progress. Each victory was built on countless hours of training, sacrifices of personal comfort, and a single-minded commitment to his craft. What made these triumphs even more meaningful was the way he carried himself after them. For Sinner, winning was never about proving doubters wrong or basking in glory. It was about fulfilling his potential and honoring the journey that brought him there. Yet, beyond the statistics and trophies, what makes Jannik Sinner's story so compelling is its humanity. He is not a manufactured star, he is a young man shaped by family values, by the culture of his hometown, and by a work ethic that never wavered. He remains deeply connected to his roots, often speaking with gratitude about his parents and the sacrifices they made. His humility is not a performance, it is who he is. In a sport where fame and wealth can easily distort priorities, Sinner remains refreshingly grounded. That balance between ambition and humility is rare, and it is what makes him more than just a champion on the court. It makes him a person admired for his character. Sinner's influence extends beyond the boundaries of tennis. For young athletes across the world, his journey serves as a reminder that greatness does not require a perfect beginning. You do not need to be the most celebrated junior player, nor do you need to follow the conventional path to success. What matters is the willingness to adapt, to work tirelessly, and to believe in yourself even when others don't see it yet. For every aspiring athlete who feels like they are starting late or are overlooked, Sinner's story offers hope. It is proof that with patience, resilience, and heart, you can rewrite your destiny. Today, as Jannik Sinner continues to etch his name into tennis history, the world watches not only his victories but the way he achieves them. His rivalries with fellow young stars are shaping a new era of the sport, one that carries the promise of excitement and renewal after the era of the Big Three. His presence on the tour has already added fresh energy, his matches captivating audiences not just for the quality of play but for the poise with which he conducts himself. Whether he is on a packed center court or a quieter stage, he competes with the same seriousness, the same determination, and the same respect for the game. As his journey continues, one cannot help but feel that Jannik Sinner represents something larger than tennis. He represents the idea that success built on humility lasts longer, that hard work will always outshine shortcuts, and that resilience will carry you through life's toughest tests. His story is still unfolding, with chapters yet to be written, but already it has become one of the most inspiring narratives in modern sports. From the slopes of South Tyrol to the greatest arenas of the tennis world, his journey is proof that passion can lead you to places you never imagined. And as fans, we are fortunate to witness this journey in real time. To watch a young man transform into a champion before our eyes, to see him overcome doubts and challenges, and to feel the quiet strength of his presence on court, it is a reminder of why sports captivate us. They are not just about results or rankings, but about human stories of perseverance, character, and dreams fulfilled. Jannik Sinner embodies all of that, and his legacy, though still being written, already stands as a beacon of inspiration. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the remarkable story of Jannik Sinner. If his rise, his humility, and his unwavering dedication have inspired you, take a moment to share that inspiration with others. Like this video if his journey moved you, leave a comment below with your favorite Sinner moment, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another story that celebrates the power of perseverance and the beauty of sport.